Hey guys, welcome to episode 75 of The Green Life. In today's episode, I'm so excited to have a returning guest. I have here Anne from Veggie Magnifique, who is a beautiful soul, who was here on the podcast with Noemi, and they were discussing the beautiful project from PCRM on Mont. They really take care of the French chapter of PCRM, and with Mont, we really discussed how France is a really challenging place to be vegan in because of the cultural blockages that country has, like most European countries to be fair, but how they work so hard at educating people and how things are slowly moving. Well, Anne has a private project on the side that is really focused on motherhood and how to be a mom and how to be a happy mom and also how to be a healthy mom on a plant-based diet. So today we're going to talk about Mama Magnifique, and we are going to just really enjoy discovering how this came about and also seeing how Anne herself, having one child already and one on the way, has created something that can support her on this journey too. But before that, I want to just give a big shout out to Namawell for the J2 juicer. You guys know I love my juicer. I don't make any money from this, but I have a discount code for you in the show notes. So if you are on the market for a new one, I really highly suggest getting one of those. They are beautiful, they make the best juices, and quite honestly, they come with the longest warranty. But I do make money from my collaboration with Dr. Morse, and so I have an affiliate account with him, and the link is below as well. I do have a discount code, however things have changed a little, and you can only use the 5% off the first time you purchase your herbs. So make it a good purchase because it's worth it in the end. It accumulates and you can save quite a bit of money. If you purchase from my link, you will be supporting The Green Life, so I really appreciate it. Thank you. I also have a link to my farm here in Portugal. As you know, 2024 is all about bringing amazing healers and yoga teachers and anyone that wants to group people together to help them to become more amazing and healthy. And so if you are a healer, if you are looking for a space that can support your journey and your retreat, get in touch and check us out. All right. Without further ado, let's get into this episode because I'm really excited about talking about what Anne has been up to and how she birthed literally this project just before she's about to give birth to a new child. Welcome, Anne. Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for being back on The Green Life. How are you?
I am so good and I'm so happy to be back on The Green Life. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. So since last time we talked, there were some news. You are expecting another baby and it's coming soon.
I am. Very soon, very, very soon. It's almost unbelievable, really. I'm feeling very pregnant these days. Something about the second child, or maybe it's just a different pregnancy, but I'm certainly feeling, all the feels.
It's funny that you say that because if I didn't know and you were just talking to me on a podcast where you are like up to your chest, I could never tell that you're pregnant.
It's funny. It's just the way that I have a really long torso, just to be honest. Yeah. And so I can show you, but there's a basketball basically that I swallowed. That's what my friends have said. They're like, you look like you swallowed a basketball.
Yeah. It's all sitting in the right place. No, it's good.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's just the way I think also, my diet is such that I feel confident that the weight that I'm gaining is proper because I'm not eating a bunch of junk or anything like that. And the same goes for example, with my last son, postpartum weight loss or whatever. I didn't even think about it. I just continued eating how I ate. And then it just kind of slowly but surely, my body returned to normal. So
yeah, amazing. Yeah. Well, great. And I love to talk about this too. So last time you were on with Noemi and we talked about a lot of the project for Mont and the PCRM, the French chapter of the PCRM, I should say, which you and Naomi manage. And I loved it, and I think people got so much out of it, especially as we continue this conversation with France and how they don't embrace veganism as they should, and many other Southern European countries. Actually, we are in Portugal, and it's the same issue we talked about.
Yes.
But today we're going to dive into something a little different. You have a beautiful project coming out, but I feel that it would be really helpful for people to get a little bit your background again, just in case I didn't listen to the last episode, and now we can delve a little more into details because it's all about you. So if you can just take me a little bit through your history, how you became a coach, how you became plant-based, and so on.
Absolutely. I love talking about that. It's so interesting. Life is interesting, isn't it? Because, it wasn't my plan to become a holistic nutrition health coach. And I'm a performer and a voiceover artist by trade. That's what I studied throughout my whole life. Actually, I began doing like voiceovers when I was like 16, and it's really been a long time. And what happened is when I was living in Paris, I lived in Paris for like almost a decade. I discovered IIN, which is, holistic nutrition studies. And from there, kind of like everything just blossomed really, because I created Veggie Magnifique with my best friend. And I became a health coach. And the vegan thing, there's two parts to this question. So, I've been vegan for a long time now. And in the beginning, it was kind of like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. I would say I've been, pretty like hardcore exclusively vegan for almost a decade. But before that, I was flirting with it as well. And that came initially, just to answer that question, from watching Forks Over Knives. Like that really woke me up from a dietary perspective. Like I went through the dietary door. Like I like to talk about the doors. Like it doesn't matter which door you go through, to finding veganism or eating plant-based, etc. And then, sorry if I'm out of breath. I'm very pregnant, so I'm always out of breath. It's just part of it. Anyway, so I went through the health door, and then of course, as time went on, I learned more about the animals, right? The ethical the ethical side, and as well as, what we're doing to our planet and so on and so forth. And as well as just like from a spiritual kind of energetic aspect, if I can go there. Mm-hmm. I love not eating dead animals, from an energetic standpoint. Like I could kind of wax philosophical about that as well. But in any case, went in through the health door after watching Forks Over Knives, totally changed my life and my health and my skin. And, gradually as I became more and more like I ate clean, more cleanly, right? More whole foods, just really life-changing. And so as a result, Veggie Magnifique is the kind of like the fruits of this journey, right? Veggie Magnifique is how I connect with others about healthy living and holistic health. And it's been such a blessing really in my life because I've met so many lovely people. I've been able to share something that's so important and I'm so passionate about. And I love what I do. I met Neil Barnard through Veggie Magnifique. Like it's been like the biggest boon and blessing ever one of the biggest in my life. And so yeah, I would say that's kind of like the short version of a very long story.
Brilliant. And when you met your husband, was he also plant-based or did you convert him?
A great question. So when I met my husband, he was interested in like organic and stuff. He was more like on the kind of what's going on in the food industry. He was questioning that, but I don't think he'd ever met a vegan. And I think he was kind of like confused initially. So no, he was not vegan when I met him. And I took the approach of like, being the change that I want to see in the world, as opposed to lecturing. I didn't lecture him, like if he asked questions, I absolutely answered them, but I didn't try to convert him. I cooked amazing vegan food to try to like lure him into, like the beauties and deliciousness of plant-based eating, of course. But it actually, he did his own research. He really did. And to be honest with you, Chantal, I think that that's best, because anytime you're trying to get someone to change, it doesn't last if they're just changing for you. It doesn't. And until they understand why, and until it becomes a personal journey, then there's just really no point. And or it won't last, or then resentment will come up or something, you know? And so I'm really happy. I'm just thrilled that he took it upon himself to, you know, slowly but surely find his reasons and do his research. And he's really into research. He's like, he went to Sciences Po in Paris. And so he's like research man. And he did the work. And as a result, he found, of course, what we find is that a whole food plant-based diet is such a win-win-win across the board, whether that be for health, or, you know, the animals or the planet, or even just in terms of your karma. You know, like he also is a spiritual guy as well. And so just kind of like understanding, you know, you don't want to be enslaved and yet you're enslaving other species, right? He's really into freedom. And like, it's kind of, you have to ask yourself, like, am I allowed to enslave and kill and eat sentient beings, right? That's a real question. Sorry to go there, but that's, you know, for my husband, that was a real big turning point, you know, in his journey as well.
Yeah, that's a very powerful point too. And it makes a lot of sense, because I feel like we live in this dissonance that we are speaking about freedom in non-enslaving, and yet we do it, but humans also do it to humans, and this is where we haven't really elevated as a species yet, to be honest. So there's a lot of work to do on this planet, for sure.
Yes, exactly. So much work. we're working on it. We're
working on it. Exactly. So when you got married, obviously you had this really big vegan bash in Mexico, and it was portrayed. It featured in the vegan magazine in the US, and I remember, and I saw the video, and it was beautiful and well planned, and there were a lot of teachable moments there too for you, because you obviously guys had to kind of instruct the venue, which wasn't necessarily vegan, and I think that was such a good practice of what you actually preach. So that was amazing. But of course, I suppose that everybody expected your wedding to be vegan, and everybody was on board with it because you were two adults. But I love to hear how the experience was when you became pregnant for the first time and decided that you were going to carry a pregnancy that was fully kind as well.
Yes. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I have to say that fortunately for me, it has been very easy. I haven't had any pushback or any flack, but I think I'm a specific case in that everyone knows I'm vegan. I have a vegan business, you know, like we are a vegan family, you know, my husband and I, like, it's kind of like, no one's going to mess with us. And, you know, if you know us, you're not going to say anything, because this is what we eat, sleep, and breathe. This is who we are. This is a very identity kind of thing. This is how we choose to live. And so, like with the wedding, of course, everyone expected it, and no one gave us any flack, especially because it was small. It was 40 people. It was like our closest family and friends. So, you know, it was expected, and so we didn't really get any pushback, thankfully. And then in terms of pregnancy, you know, maybe also I'm just trying to think, like, it was 2021 when I was first pregnant. And I guess I didn't find myself in too many scenarios where in 2021, I was in, you know, big group settings of people who didn't know me at all, who were like, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, you're vegan. Like, oh, you know, I didn't really get any of that, thankfully. And if I ever do, I'm prepared. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very confident in what I'm doing, because it's not just, you know, a passing fancy. I've researched this, you know, like I've experienced the benefits of a plant-based diet, and I have, you know, scientific data, like especially working with Neil Barnard now. Oh my gosh, it's such a wonderful experience, because we're constantly talking about all these different studies to share with the audience, right? So I'm swimming in it now. It's like, oh my gosh, it's such a wonderful experience because you want facts, like I got it. You know what I mean? Bam, 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 bam. You know, like, and we focus mostly on the show through like a nutritional standpoint, but like obviously PCRM is very much as well preoccupied with animal cruelty as well. They just they have different segments of what they do, and in any case, as a pregnant woman, I have been even more stringent about my diet, of course, you know, a bit more like, you know, like careful, making sure I'm taking, you know, prenatal vitamins or, you know, getting seaweed in my diet, things like that. You know, I'm a health coach, and my husband is too. So we're totally like, you know, into nutrition and making sure we have balanced meals in any case. But during pregnancy, of course, it just kind of goes up a notch because you're eating for two. You're nourishing another human, and it's so important. It's so important. So yeah, fortunately, I know a lot of people don't have that experience, Chantal. I know, like, depending on your environment and depending on how long you've been vegan, it can be a real challenge. And especially with regard to like healthcare professionals, like people can really like fearmonger you. And, you know, like another thing is that I work with a midwife, right? So I'm not going to see a normal MD, you know, like this pregnancy, I haven't done anything anywhere close to a hospital or a doctor's office or anything. I just have my midwife. She comes with her stethoscope thing, you know, she's very, very experienced, and I haven't done any ultrasounds. Like I'm like that hippie girl, like unless there's an issue, right? I really trust my body and how it functions. And so I haven't had to deal with any flack, and I haven't had to deal with a doctor who's like, well, maybe you should be eating eggs. You know, I haven't had to deal with that. And I realized that that's unique. A lot of women do. And you didn't necessarily ask this question. I'll stop rambling. But the most important thing to do as a pregnant woman is to do your research so that you're prepared, that you're confident, right? You're prepared for those difficult conversations. And you're also, you know, in your own choice, because you have to feel confident too. You have to 100% know that what you're doing is beneficial for your baby, right? You have to know that. And that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that becomes priority, I'm sure, for every mom. So you obviously seem to, and because you're very educated, you seem to have embraced this journey on a plant-based diet, even through pregnancy, in a very beautiful way. And I can see why nobody would challenge you when you are so outspoken about what you know. Although, of course, criticism comes all the time, and you can see online when any woman is pregnant, somehow people become experts in pregnancy, even if like they don't even, you know, they cannot carry.
It's hilarious,
like,
right?
Dude, who made you? OBGYN. And so the interesting part for me is when you coach women that come to you, because obviously before, and we're going to get into the program you created, you had women that came to you maybe and they were asking questions, you know, like, oh, you vegan and you had a baby. How did that go for you? I was wondering how you navigated that, and if those experiences were the triggers for you creating this new plan.
Yeah. So great question. In terms of how I handle that, I handle it with science and experience, right? It's twofold. So I share resources because I'm not a doctor, I'm a health coach. So I'm aggregating resources, right? And then so there's that. And then also what I'm doing is I'm sharing my personal experience, right? I had an amazing first pregnancy. This one has been amazing. It's just been different, you know. There's a different baby in there, so I've had different symptoms. But that's really what I can draw from. I can share my experience, you know, eating a whole food plant-based diet during my pregnancy, but also I can share, you know, just the studies that really support that talk about because, you know, it's obviously important to have a well-planned vegan diet, right? Like all the sources say, if you just eat pasta and marinara sauce, you're eating a vegan diet, but you're not nourishing yourself or your baby, obviously. You know, I really like I really like the power plate that we have that we use and share on Mon Sang with PCRM and Neil Barnard, because it's so helpful, right? It really simplifies things. Like it's essentially, the plate with beans, legumes, right? And then you have fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And that's just kind of like, we also talk about making sure, sorry, out of breath again. I'm like so pregnant right now. Making sure that, like you're adding in some nuts and making sure that you're thinking about iodine, whether through supplementation or through eating seaweed or whatever. There's little things, there's little persnickety things, but overall, right? You think about the power plate and cool, you're good. You're really good. So, and then to come back to what you talked about with the Mama membership. So that's what we're, that's the secret that we haven't, I have launched, by the time this comes out, Mama Magnifique, it's a healthy haven for mindful mamas. And to be honest with you, motherhood has been a real adventure. It has been a real, like, life-changing, altering, amazing, but also challenging adventure. And it's something that I really feel like I felt, especially in the beginning, that I needed more community and support, especially with like-minded mamas. And that I felt like there was a dearth of information out there for mamas who seek to do things differently. And I wanted to kind of fill that void of sharing healthy resources for being a whole mama and helping other mothers, because it's challenging, because it's a whole new thing, it's a whole new chapter. And how do you take care of yourself while also taking care of a baby? And if you're depleted, how do you properly take care of a baby? And then also, like, there's all these mama groups, but they're all on Facebook. And I'm sorry, but I'm just up to here with social media. Like, I know I'm a YouTuber. I know that, I have to use social media, insofar as like promoting my business and stuff like that. But the honest truth is that I don't like it, because I just feel like it's this slippery slope, and it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to go to Facebook to connect with people. I just don't, personally. And I want something apart where I don't get like a notification about, someone just went somewhere and did something. I really wanted to create something that was kind of a safe haven, right? Where mamas could come and connect with other like-minded mamas, because that's a huge factor. That's such a huge thing, is when you become a mom, you need support. You just need it. You need to talk to other mamas. You need to discuss, like, hey, where did you find your baby carrier? Or which one's the best? Or how do you feel about this? And really have that, like, positive exchange with other mothers. It really helps you. And it's like with motherhood, it's funny. Like, I've done my fair share of babysitting, and I was like, I got this. Totally. And then I had a baby, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. It's not the same. It's just not the same. I love kids. I've spent oodles of time with kids. It's really different when you become a mother, especially with breastfeeding, if you can do that, and all these kinds of like aspects that really render it like physically and emotionally challenging and whatnot. So anyway, Mama Magnifique sprung out of this desire personally, actually, to really have a more supportive network of other like-minded mamas sharing information that was pertinent and helpful and also uplifting, Chantal. I'll tell you that, because I think one thing I've been surprised about is that there's a lot of women who actually really dislike being mothers, and that's their prerogative. But I don't want to hang with them so much. I really want to have productive conversations and being solution oriented about, like, it's hard. Yes. However, how can we love mothering and see children as blessings and come together in a way that's productive, because it's true. Like there's a lot of people who want to like just vent, and I get it. We all need to vent. But at the same time, I think I'm a little bit more masculine in my energy in that, like, yes, I need to vent, I need to share with my friends, but I want productive solutions, right? I also want that. I don't want to just complain. I also want to say, okay, this is hard for me. So what are some of the things that you did to make this better? And I want to love parenting. And I do. And the more that I find myself in a kind of like healthy dynamic with other like-minded moms who also want to love parenting, the better things go. It's true. It's like the 5 people you hang out with the most, right? Whether that's virtually or in person, the people that you hang out with and that you speak with, it affects how you feel. It affects how you feel about life. It affects your attitude. And I want to strive, even through the challenges, to surround myself and also be a light for other mothers that say, yes, it's hard, but that's okay. It's beautiful too. And here's what we can do. And what do you do? And have that, that beautiful exchange, because, there's this, woman, I think her name is Abby, and she has this channel called M is for Mama. And she released this book recently, which I haven't read because I don't even actually think it's out yet. And it's like, hard is not the same thing as bad or something like that. And I just love that. I love that concept. We try to avoid the hard in life sometimes, some of us. And the truth is that it's not always bad, because that is where we grow. That is the things that are challenging in life. Like, if you think about your life and the things that have challenged you, I think everyone would agree, wow, I'm such a stronger person because of that. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was hard. But like, we don't have to equate something that's challenging with something that sucks or something that we don't want to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm interested in knowing if you would have come out with this plan during your first round as a mom, or you wanted to really, or having a baby and experiencing what it was like to be a mom and what the needs were as a mother, as well as a woman, inspired you to actually come out with it now because you saw a gap in the market, or what was the trigger for you?
Well, to be honest with you, it took me a long time to get this membership out to see the light of day. And the reason is because, well, a lot of things, just personally, becoming a mother was all encompassing. And then when I started work, like 2 weeks after I gave birth with Edgar, I think it was 2 weeks, Neil Barnard emailed me and he's like, hey, let's talk. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow. And so as a result, like, that became a big project of mine. That became a big focus, because what a wonderful opportunity it was and has been, right? So juggling being a mother and a work from home mother at that, it has been a challenge. And like my channel has suffered, right? Because I can't post as often as I'd like to, just because of the logistics of how we manage our time. Like, for example, I don't have childcare. Like, my husband and I tag team, and then sometimes my mom will help and watch my son. But at this point in time, I'm not against it, but we're really striving to spend as much time as possible with my son. So that means then that I can only work so many hours a day, and if he doesn't nap, forget it. And there's all these different things. So to answer your question, I had planned to launch this membership actually as a holistic kind of hub for healthy people, like before I became a mother. Like, that's why this has been such a long-term project. This is literally, like, it's funny when I look into the portal and it says, Anne, a member for 3 years. It's like, I just launched this thing, but I've been a member for 3 years because I've been working on this with my designer / coder / amazing guy for 3 years. So it started before I had my first son. And then when I became a mom, everything clarified, which is wonderful. It made sense. I was like, oh, this is what needs to be created. Yeah. This is it. This is the niche that feels correct and good and right. Like the mama wellness, because my life changed, right? So my content and my creations had to reflect that. It had to like that's why Veggie Magnifique content obviously has included a lot more mama content over the past couple of years, because to me, it's really important to be authentic with what I share.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't talk about momming, it just wouldn't be real. And that's been a real priority for me over the past, I don't know, 8 years, is sharing stuff that's really authentic, and also what I feel deep in my heart that needs to be shared, and that I'm currently, either dealing with or researching or whatever. Like it has to be authentic, that otherwise I just, in terms of inspiration. So yeah, to answer your question, it really came out of this kind of huge life change for me, and then everything clarified, and I was like, oh yes, this is it, a mama membership for other healthy mamas. Of course.
That is so brilliant. I love that. I feel like this morning I was interviewed by somebody, and there are a couple of things you brought up that definitely we talked about just naturally as well. One of the things was, how at some point when we finish school, we are told we have to find a niche. And if you don't have a niche, your business cannot flourish. And it's really very hard to find one, because especially as you're holistic, you're looking at health and you're like, how do I segment this? Because I don't want to exclude people, because I know people need it. And then you start seeing that your own experiences shape how you are going to interact with others and what kind of products you're going to create and programs. And therefore, the niche naturally happens. So for me, for example, not being a mother, not having had babies, the niche took longer, because I really had to get into my 40s. I had to face the dark night of the soul. I had to have some serious changes happen, face some real trauma from childhood, and then understanding that how powerful the feminine is. And so I want to work with women to empower them to look after themselves, because if our body is not performing, forget it, nothing else will happen. So having a plant-based diet, why a plant-based diet is so important. So all these things kind of came together. So the niche formed itself. And I think it's beautiful how you're describing it in a way. That's exactly what happened for you, where you wanted to serve as many people as possible, because the aim is to make people healthy. But then it transformed into something that is so personal to you, because you went through it. And in that way, not only is it authentic, but also you kind of have the expertise because you lived it and you still live it. So I would love for you to take me through the program and tell me what people can expect when they join you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, that's really when we're at our best as humans, when we find what really makes us shine and that is important to us. So the niche, everyone, like you said, always talks about the niche, but you have to do the work to find it.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. And when you find it, and when you find something that really just turns you on, that's when you're at your best. That's when you're able to connect with more people and shine and change the world. Let's be real. Like, the people who are changing the world are those who have really, really kind of found what makes them and what they can offer that's truly specifically personal to them. Right. So
Agreed.
I'm really glad that you've had that journey as well, because it can be frustrating, like holistic health. Like when I studied holistic health, it's true that like in the beginning I was like, the healthy vegan living, cool, and then it's like,
yeah,
frustrating, because obviously you want to find your tribe and those people who really want what you have to offer, right? It's such a synergistic thing. So let's talk about Mama Magnifique. So Mama Magnifique is a membership for mindful mamas who really want to love parenting, of course, and who also want to be healthy while doing it. And it's for mamas who are seeking that connection as well that I was speaking about earlier, right? With other like-minded mamas. And just from a practical standpoint, so every month has a theme, and we focus on that theme. Like, we go deep into that theme. And so the I guess what you call the the content of that month. Every month is a long form video for me where we talk about the theme and I share resources, and depending on what the topic is, you know, like certain things I'm more, you know, like I don't know what is it, expert, but like certain things I master more than others. So for example, there's one upcoming month that I'm working on about Ayurveda, and I'm not an Ayurvedic practitioner, but I have a guest who absolutely is. And so the content, I'm excited for this one because it's going to be me kind of exploring this as well as the other mamas in the membership through the wisdom of my guest, just as a little like a little peek into future content, you know, like how to implement the like Ayurveda as a mother. And so a long form video for me, sorry, to get back to what I was saying, and then a webinar with an expert on the theme of the month where we can really like dive into how to implement or to practice, right, the theme. And of course, like, you know, there's the blog post and whatever, but then there's also a forum, right? So I'm really excited about this because it allows us to connect, right? It's not just like I'm consuming content. It's also cool. I can ask questions like, hey guys, what did you think of this? Or do you have any recipes with tempeh? Because I don't know what to do with it, or you know, whatever. Like, and so there's a forum that basically is just a, you know, free for all that women can chat with other mamas about like anything. And then of course there's the specific tailored content on that theme. And then oftentimes there's a discount, you know, like oftentimes if my guest has products or services that are really super relevant, you know, there's going to be a discount for the mamas who are taking part. But in essence, I like to call it a haven. That's like how I see it. It's a safe haven for mamas to come and to fortify our souls, because we need it. We need it. We need that connection, and we need to take care of ourselves in order to be productive people and good mothers, right? Because if we neglect ourselves, that's when we become completely depleted and we don't like what we do. It's so important. It's so important. And so this is our safe haven to connect and to really dive deep on these important topics. And one thing that I'm really excited about as well is like getting feedback from other mamas, like, hey, what are you struggling with, and how can we create, you know, more content around some of the things that are really important to the members. Like I love that this is going to be like the founding members are, you know, the people who joined in the first month are the founding members, and that tight-knit group of like, let's make this into something truly special. Because, you know, obviously I'm doing my part as the creator, but it's also a very give and take scenario, right? So if the mamas are like, hey, I'm struggling with this, can we dive into this? I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's do it. It's, you know, it's much more personal than, say, you consuming content on YouTube, right? Because it's not the same, you know, like when you go on YouTube, you're not, usually at least, you know, I guess it's with live videos or whatever, you're not having that personal exchange. You're not in that club sort of, right? That membership or whatever. Whereas this is really very personal. This is a very like, let's connect. Let's dive deep on these topics that are super important to mamas. And how can we get results, right? Because I'm like I said before, you know, I'm not too namby-pamby about things. Like I love to connect and talk about the struggles, but I also want to make sure that we're talking about solutions, right? And we're talking about, okay, this is hard. How do we navigate this? How do we feel better? Or like, what are some things that, you know, like I'm having trouble getting my son to eat XYZ. Like, what have you guys done to help your children, you know, eat broccoli or vegetables or some of, you know, just that solidarity and that connection, and that, because it's important to me that this membership be productive, right? That we also are learning and growing together. Like that's just super important to me personally. And I hope that the other mamas, you know, come with that hope as well, right? The hope to really like yes, we're connecting. Yes, we're talking about all these challenges, but we're also talking about ways to make things better, to love mothering more, right?
Yeah, totally. And if somebody wanted to join, say a woman were pregnant and they were like, well, I'm expecting my first baby. I am not plant-based yet. I want to become plant-based. Will you have any resources that are available to people that are transitioning in terms of, what kind of foods are the best and what kind of supplements to take, brands that you trust, things like that are always evergreen on the website?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of that kind of content on Veggie Magnifique just because that's like what I talk about is a lot of people who tune into Veggie Magnifique aren't necessarily plant-based actually. They just want to plantify or they want to go in that direction or they're veggie curious and that's wonderful. Like I'm thrilled because the more that I can help people to add in more plants into their lives, the better they're going to feel. So in terms of pregnancy, absolutely. As soon as you're pregnant, you're a mama. You are housing a little being. So absolutely, like the mama membership, if you're pregnant is for you. Absolutely. You're a mama. And furthermore, it's actually probably a good idea to join earlier so you can start to really kind of like research and so that you're not as blindsided, right? Because when you become a mom, there's certainly a lot of things that you just can't prepare for. You can't expect. So the more that you connect with other mothers as a pregnant woman is extremely helpful. So yes. And in terms of the membership, obviously what I advocate for on Veggie Magnifique is, a largely whole food, plant-based vegan diet, but the membership is very holistic. So I'm going to be sharing resources, which are obviously always plant-based, but at the same time, like the door is wide open if you're not vegan, because if you're interested in adding in more plants, it's going to be very helpful. It's going to be very helpful for you. Like that's definitely important to note, right? I don't want everyone to think, oh, okay, well, I'm not vegan, I can't join Mama Magnifique. It's like, no. Like, yeah, I'm vegan. Yes. And that's what I advocate for, as a coach and having studied nutrition. However, we're talking not just about nutrition in this membership. We're talking about healthy mamaing. So when we talk about nutrition, like, obviously, like I have a guest who's she's an expert in nutrition for babies, especially and baby-led weaning. And we're going to talk about, how to add more plants for babies and how to like first foods and things like that. So yes, expect that we're going to be advocating for a plant-based diet, but at the same time, it's very, 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 very inclusive. Like I really feel that one downside of the vegan movement, let's say, is that people they start to fear vegans because they think that, they could be mean or whatever. And I'm like, no, dude, like you are welcome here, right? You are so welcome. You want to add in more plants? That's wonderful, right? You're going to feel better. That's awesome. You want to, like find ways to up the, plant protein in your child's diet. Cool. Right. And in terms of resources to answer your question, absolutely. So in addition to having the forum where we can share resources and I can obviously like respond to questions and really like it's like a straight way to talk to me, like I will be there answering any questions. And absolutely in terms of transitioning, yeah, that's a large kind of component of what I do. What I think that I do is I help people to plantify, or even, obviously if you want to go all the way, like I'm thrilled, it's wonderful. But at the same time, I'm also very inclusive because I just think that it works better, right? It works better to be loving and welcoming. And I don't want to be that vegan who's just a punk and like judgy and just no one wants to be around that. And then it turns people off and then they could really be improving their diet and their lives. But they're like, no, forget that vegan thing because that girl is a punk or whatever, like,
yeah. They associate the lifestyle to the person delivering the message, which, as you said, becomes quite difficult because a lot of vegans, and I appreciate what they do, especially when they're activists, but they become belligerent because they want to shake people off and be like, hey, this, why wouldn't you do, like, why wouldn't you see this being wrong? And we talked about it this morning again on the podcast I was interviewed on, because again, it's more about how do we deliver. And it's better to deliver a message where people don't feel like they're being attacked, so they're not as resistant. And in this case, I think, especially when it comes to motherhood, you are creating a space where nurturing is really the key, because the nurturing really becomes about the subject, but also becomes the fact that you're becoming a mom. And as a mom, you have to be nurturing to your baby. So however that is going to look for you, whether you're fully plant-based or not, you can make space for better choices and better habits. So I feel that this is a very powerful message to adhere to in order not to segregate the community and become, like almost VIP, like, oh, you can't be in here because you're not plant-based.
Yeah.
We're never gonna teach. I mean, why would you sing to the choir that is singing your own song? Like, you want to teach new people.
Right.
So
We want
yeah,
to grow together.
amazing. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so with the membership, what is the aim in terms of timeline? How long do you expect moms to be part of it, or for a minimum to get the benefits out of it? And obviously, best case scenario if they want to stay in it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that when mamas join, that they will feel a real sense of connection and benefit and growth. So my hope is that it becomes a long-term thing, right? I would say that it's hard to say, like, oh, come join for 3 months and you'll feel the effects or whatever. Like, I hope that you feel the effects straight away by joining in there and feeling those feel goody, like community vibes and deeper content, like, I really hope that mamas will stick around. However, if it's not for you, it's not for you, like, you have to find your tribe, right? So I think obviously there are benefits to joining earlier than later with memberships, because as we grow and whatever, like I'm definitely offering an early birdie rate for the early adopters, because that's the right thing to do for the founding members and whatnot. And I feel like people, like, I feel like mamas will know pretty soon after joining if it's for them. And I hope, my deepest hope, and what I've worked so hard, is that they will derive benefit from the community and the content and the depth of the connection, right? And like the no ads, like you can, come here and let's dive into a topic. You're not going to watch an ad for, XYZ furniture company or whatever. Like, it's really a safe space without that kind of like jolting stuff that you get on social media.
Yeah.
And I hope that everyone who's feeling like, this is great, this is what I need, this is filling that void of like connection and healthifying positive parenting, I hope that it'll be a long-term thing. I really do. That's my hope. I hope that this membership is really going to thrive, that, that we will, because it's brand new, for those who are listening and watching, it's a brand new thing, but my most sincerest hope is that it becomes truly, truly a long-term, tribe of women who feel fortified by the experience and who connect with other mamas and derive benefit from those connections. So yeah, it's hard to put a number, like, come join us, come see if it vibes with you, if it's something that you feel that you would derive benefit from. I'm certainly doing absolutely everything to make sure that it's super beneficial and uplifting and filled with value. That's that's number one priority for me, like value. How can I help? How can I share information that's going to help you in this journey? So yeah, does that answer your question?
It does. And I would expect nothing less. I think with something like this, where there is also a continuum, because your baby grows, your experience changes. It's really hard to stay only like 3 months, as you said. Like, you have to be open to the fact that you're going to learn so many things as you go, and motherhood doesn't stop after weaning your baby or after like the baby walks or they go to school. So I think there's an opportunity here to create a community that can grow up together.
Yes.
I really hope that you also find a lot of people that are perhaps based on the East Coast where you are, that are close to you, so that it can become also an in-person as well as online, because I feel like that's something that sometimes is missing but there is an opportunity for that too, right? If you are in the same geographical location, to perhaps even create that hub.
Well, it's a jumping off point, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
So you connect with people virtually. These days, things are quite different. And it's true that like a lot of people have a harder time meeting people in person that, are on the same page or whatever. So it can be a lovely jumping off point, right? Because maybe because there'll be members in Europe that are close by that can connect, right? And then like, we can have posts on the forum, whereas, hey, if there's anyone else who is in this region, right? Let's meet up in person, because that's obviously best, like I'm an in-person person for sure, which is funny because I have an online business, but that is also just the way of the world now. It is such a wonderful way to connect with people, to find people, right? Like you and me, we haven't met in person. I'd love to meet you in person and give you a big hug, but you're in Portugal, I'm in New Hampshire, like, but yeah, this is but yet, this is really valuable to me. Like, obviously, knowing you and one day, if ever I'm in Portugal, I'm, would love to meet you in person, but it's like, this is already something truly valuable to connect with people virtually. It's kind of amazing, right? That's like the positive effects of technology, right? Like I'm not the biggest techie girl, but I have to acknowledge I have an online business. And because of Veggie Magnifique, which is an online, blog and YouTube channel, my life has changed. I have changed lives. I've connected with people. It's so yeah, that side of technology we like.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%, especially sometimes when you move location from a big center, like, I was in London, it was so easy to meet people, but it's not always easy when you move, especially to a country where you don't speak the language like I am in Portugal. And, it's different and it's difficult. And being online has made a whole lot of difference. Plus, of course, as you said, working, even projects like PCRM on Monsanto, like I could have never done it without internet and being part of it. And those are things that you just really value. And I think we can use social media and technology in such a positive way versus how sadly is being portrayed and used. And those communities, you made a very good point before, those communities that are on platforms that are private and closed, reserved, I should say, to the right people, will blossom and flourish a lot more because you have the like-mindedness and you have the purpose as to being there, and really just find that tribe that then will translate in however it needs to translate later.
You feel a lot safer. You feel a lot safer, because I don't completely trust Facebook, just
no, of course not. No, and there's so many trolls. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you this, and it's not about the membership, but as a mom, as a expecting mom again, what are your must take supplements that you are going, and if you can suggest any brands? I know a lot of moms always look for something and they're worried, and of course they don't want to take any supplements that perhaps are not as natural because they could hurt them. So what do you trust in terms of brands?
Absolutely. So great question. First and foremost, I would say that supplements, they're not magic. So make sure that you're getting, a healthy diet in first. Like that's your first supplementation, quote unquote, is to make sure that you're eating a varied diet filled with, legumes, greens, like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, those kinds of things. But like, I realize in your first trimester, you might not feel like eating those things. So, like it's not perfect, but just if you can, like I understand, because my first trimester this time was challenging. So I get it, but do what you can to eat what you can. Okay. Now that I've said that, let's talk about supplements. So in addition, obviously that's why we're supplementing and not just like living off of vitamins. I really like Global Healing Center. So I use Global Healing Center just in general, right? So for my B12, my vitamin D, vitamin C, I love his products. He's like that, Dr. Group is amazing. He like does like stuff akin to like, I don't know, like alchemical stuff to create his vitamins and supplement. He's amazing. Anyway, I could go down that rabbit hole, but so Dr. Group I really trust at Global Healing Center. And then I take the prenatal from Joel Furman.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe in that one. It's super pure. And so I take that prenatal. Some people have different opinions about probiotics. I have found it very helpful. I also eat probiotics. Like, I'm a super sauerkraut fan. Like, and so is my son, actually, which is interesting. So, I eat probiotics again, but then I also have found that certain symptoms, were better during my pregnancy by taking probiotics. I know that, like, some people feel like the jury's out with that. And then I would say the omega-3, DHA, EPA, DHA. Again, not everyone's in agreement about that, but I want to cover my bases.
To be honest, more and more people are finding agreement about it too, because the science is kind of like, hey, is it worth chancing not getting enough of those and having neurological issues or brain issues, or is it okay to like actually find the best form you can, especially because it's vegan, so you're not getting the heavy metals and from the fish, and the chances of getting cancer from that are probably much lower than maybe with the fish oil. So there is a lot of interesting research out there. But I know that even doctors that used to be against it now are pro. Like, even Dr. Furman never really thought, EPA and DHA were a must, but then he changed his mind about it. And that was, something very humble of him. Same with Dr. Clapper. Like, at the beginning, he was like, why would you supplement? But then he realized, actually, you should. And the nice thing about it is that we have diagnostics and we should use them to check our levels. That's right. And during pregnancy, you have to, as you said before, you have to think reserve, because now you have another being growing within you. Big time. You want to be overly vigilant. Yeah. Because why not? Why wouldn't you be? So yeah. And I really like Dr. Furman's EPA DHA, because it's, obviously vegan, but also the best tasting. Yeah. And because it's like there's like a little bit of lemon in there. And again, like, a lot of people think, oh, I have to eat fish. And I just, I know perhaps people listening to your podcast are not thinking this, but where do they get it? Right. Yeah. Let's go to the source. Right. So, like, let's go to the algae and whatnot. And so, yeah, I feel confident that in taking, a prenatal, my EPA, DHA, and my classic vitamins, right, where B12, of course, vitamin D, I take vitamin C as well. And then iodine, I would say, depending on how much you eat seaweed, you should also think about iodine, although it's in Dr. Furman's prenatal, so you don't want to overdo it either. So yeah. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, I take my vitamins, and I also try to get things into my diet just to kind of cover my bases, because why not? Yeah, why not? Exactly. Fantastic. Well, and when are you due? Yeah, so I'm due. I call it a guest date, because like these things you can't really predict. But the end of September is my guest date. We'll see. My first son was 9 days late. I'm not going to say late, after his guest date, because he just needed to gestate a little longer. And it was perfect. That being said, this is a different pregnancy, and this is a different baby, and he is just like a mover and a shaker. So I think it could be, I don't know. He could come early or late. I'm not sure, but that's September. We're getting close there. We're getting close. So end of September, we're on baby watch, and it's so exciting. Are you planning a home birth? Yes, of course. Yeah. Did you do it last time too? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a doula as well as a midwife? The first time I had a doula, and then this time I felt like, because I'm having the same midwife, and I feel like very confident with her. She's amazing. She's like above and beyond. So I don't feel like this time I needed a doula, but I am a big advocate for home birth. That's a whole nother topic. We could talk about it some other time, but I was a home birth. I was born at home. Wow. And I am passionate about demedicalizing birth, because it's not always a medical emergency, right? It can be. And thank God for hospitals, right? But
birth is like an innate function of a woman's body. So I'm very passionate about that being an option, because even in some places you can't have a home birth, which really, really makes me sad. It really infuriates me, to be honest. Not all home birth isn't right for all women, depending on, like high risk pregnancies, or depending on your comfort level, because you obviously you want to be comfortable. Because if you're not, you're totally freaking out about giving birth at home, you probably would be better in a hospital, because then you're going to be able to open up and get that baby out. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm totally not like everyone should do a home birth, but in low risk situations, and everything goes well, I absolutely advocate and believe in it. And that being said, of course, I have a plan B, because again, you just never know. And you don't want to be negligent. And I'm not, I'm definitely have a plan B. But yeah, we're planning another home birth, and hopefully, it'll be a bit more, what do I want to say, like less painful than the first time around. Like, that's my hope. I'm trying to manifest that. My first birth was amazing on paper, but it's true that it threw me for a loop. So I'm doing all the work to try to get into the zone. So we'll see how I do.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I am very proud of you, as I am all women, because giving birth is definitely natural but very hard work. And when they test pain levels on men, they never manage to get to the level that we feel as women whilst we are giving birth. So much more respect for women.
Yeah, it's totally amazing. But like, remember I was talking about like that concept about like the heart isn't always a bad thing. It's true that once you have done it, you're just like, man, I can conquer the world. You're like, how did they do that? I don't know how I did that. Like the baby out. Like, it's amazing. It's truly a miracle. It really is. And like, your body is doing so much stuff that you're not even doing. You're not thinking about it. You're just like, ideally, right, you're getting out of your own way. And it really, at the end of the day, like, you're so in awe of your body, because you're not pushing buttons and pulling triggers and whatnot. Your body's doing it, your baby's doing it. And it's truly, I mean, it's, it's another topic, but it's amazing. It's so amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Well, congratulations again. And I'm so excited about your program. And I'm sure that it will be, even with the second baby coming, will be even more real and present, because it's going to be raw from the beginning. So if any mom is joining and they're becoming a mom just now, they'll definitely experience with you that process, and that's powerful.
I'll be right there with her.
Exactly.
I'll be right there.
So congratulations, and thank you so much for your work.
Thank you so much, Chantal. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you everyone for staying on for this episode. I'm very fascinated about this program that Anne has created, and I think that if you are an expecting mom, or are planning to become one, or are about to give birth, or are already a mom, this will really, really support you. I love how women can come together and support each other, and it's so nice to learn from someone that has been at it for a while and can actually share some really good tips. So guys, if you want to know more, please go into the show notes. I've linked everything you need to know about Veggie Magnifique journey and Mama Magnifique, so that you can really get onto it and create the community that we need for beautiful, strong, amazing, empowered moms to bring forth the most amazing children. All right, I will see you next week. And as always, if you like this episode, please do share it, please do rate it, and help us grow. Thank you. Bye.